Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda, and please welcome to our Operation Freedom platform, WeThePeopleProcessing.com. You know, are you tired of being threatened to be canceled just because you have a company focused on liberty and freedom? Well, worry no more, folks. WeThePeopleProcessing.com is your go-to merchant services, freedom-based company to provide business service payment solutions. We the People Processing provides their clients a cancel culture-free platform which is domestically based. They provide competitive rates, no contracts with next-day funding, a fully vetted and like-minded financial infrastructure, and full support for integrations, implementation, and e-commerce efforts. Bottom line, WeThePeopleProcessing.com focuses on defending your company's free market growth, values, and future. Check them out at www.WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Once you're on the site, enter in password Operation Freedom or call 855-499-2024. That's WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Then, when on the website, enter Operation Freedom as your password or call 855-499-2024.
Mr. President-elect,
go ahead.
Can you state
She's
categorically?
asking a question.
Mr. President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You are
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude. No, I'm not going to give you a
question.
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir.
I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Dave versus the MSM. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. I hope you're having a happy holiday season. And, one way we try to make it a little happier holiday season is by exposing the Thugocracy. You see, what they don't want is for you and your friends and families to realize what they are up to. And it all comes down to they're all about stripping you of your remaining freedoms, your liberty, your health, your wealth, your future, and frankly, your life. It's that simple. In one way, the biggest holiday present we can give every person in our country is exposure of these thugs and what they're up to. The more people who are educated with the facts, the more people who become empowered, and this is what the deep state fears, the more people who are empowered, the sooner we end this reign of terror by the deep state. So today's presentation is the Biden-Harris Thugocracy versus you. Now, Biden, Harris, and everybody associated in their orbit are owned and operated and are puppets of the deep state, the New World Order crowd, the globalist syndicate, the whatever you want to call, the totalitarian thugs. They're all the same. And their goals are, as I already outlined. So let's undermine their plan. And let's give you some data and information and facts that you can share and point out to your friends and families over this holiday season and enlighten them. Look, the playbook of the deep state is to create chaos, because out of that chaos, they get more power, more control, and more, moolah. That's what it's all about. Okay? So if we look at their chaos model, what are they up to? Well, they have a number of different forks in the fire. One of which is this supply chain problem, right? Remember when Biden came out, of course, his Secretary of Transportation, Buttigieg, is, I think, still on paternity leave or something after, I don't know how many months. The supply chain issue. Oh, we're going to have the ports working 24/7, and that's not happening. But people outside that window in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor, oh, yes, it's up. No, they're not going 24/7. But another way in which they're stymieing this supply chain issue is on the trucking issue. So Biden and Harris recently came up with this one, right? This gem. What's this going to do to supply chains? Do you think this is going to cause more? I think so. Biden will require essential travelers crossing U.S. land borders, such as truck drivers, to be, can't say the word, right? 32 years of clinical experience, healthcare on the front line. Can't say it, right? Or else the social justice warriors will take this down. But now, approximately 40%, at least 40% of truckers have not had this. This, according to the American Trucking Association. So let's get this straight. If you're a trucker and you're keeping our supply chains open, you have to get this. But if you're illegal and you're coming across the border, you're not going to get tested. And guess what? You don't have to have this. Wait, how? What? Right. This is a targeting of every American. And the sooner people figure this out, the sooner we end this reign of terror. Just look at the issues with energy in this country right now, right? First thing he did when he got into office in Harrison, they shut down the Keystone Pipeline, right? How'd that work out for your gas price? When you go to that pump, do you thank Biden and Harris for what they did, shutting down that pipeline and a number of other energy programs around the country? I surely don't. Meanwhile, Basement Joe says this before the Thanksgiving holiday. Biden tells Americans struggling to pay for food and gas they need, quote, perspective, end quote, hours before he jets off to a $30 million Nantucket estate. Oh, let them eat cake. Let them pump gas, right? Pelosi, let them eat ice cream. I mean, they're all criminal, deep state puppets who care nothing about you or me or any American. On Operation Freedom, I've been speaking about inflation, supply chain issues, and voting with your hard-earned dollars and how to make a difference. Look, we all know over the past couple years how the globalist syndicate has done quite well. And while middle America, small and medium-sized American-made businesses have suffered while the big box stores have prospered. Many people believe, well, there's nothing you can do about it. I believe there is, folks. I believe there is. That's the good news. We need to vote with our dollars. That is how we make a difference. What if there was a better way to utilize our resources that we have earned to support small and medium-sized businesses rather than these big box stores or the globalist syndicate? Look, businesses that do not rely on cargo ships from far-off distant lands, that are American-based businesses, are the key. And that is where patriotswitch.com gives you and me the ability to help each other. Rather than continuing to give our money to the big box stores or the globalist syndicate, if you will. That's why patriotswitch.com was created, to help provide products from family-owned, American-made businesses and companies and provide it to folks like you and me. That's patriotswitch.com, patriotswitch.com. They only care about themselves. Fact. Biden delivered remarks on the economy and his administration's efforts to ease supply chain crisis. Yeah, like with the truckers and with, yeah, right, okay. And lower gas prices. Yeah, remember his Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm, who's the former governor or commandant of this concentration camp that we call the state of Michigan. She was an incompetent governor. as is Whitmer, obviously. We've gone through that before. Granholm, I'm not sure how many years it's been since she pumped her own gas, okay? But she's Secretary of the Energy, has zero experience on the energy front. She's at this podium the other day talking about, well, we're going to release this about 50 million gallons of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and, well, this is going to plummet gas prices. And question, Granholm, how many barrels of oil are used by the American public per day? I don't have that figure at hand. She's the Secretary of Energy. Do you think that'd be like one of the first statistics she knows? 18 million barrels a day? So in other words, this great release was going to drive prices down for months. 50 million, that's 2.5 days worth of, right. And people that hear this go, well, they're just incompetent. No. They're willfully ignorant because they're paid by their mentors in the deep state to be ignorant. Meanwhile, you got El Demente, right? We got El Duce, that fascist out of Italy, Mussolini. Remember from the 40s? Well, El Demente, another fascist, this guy. Joe Biden lectured struggling Americans, telling them they need to, quote, maintain perspective, end quote. In other words, sit down, shut up, hunker down, lock down, stay down in your, don't say anything, don't talk to anybody, just, yeah, that's right. Just get some perspective. Here's some perspective. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, your deep state thugs that are trying to undermine this entire country and every person in this country. There's some perspective. After this from Christina Lala, after destroying U.S. energy, Joe Biden blames other oil-producing countries for soaring gas prices. Biden delivered remarks recently on the economy, his administration's efforts to ease the supply chain. His first order of business, by the way, was to shut down Keystone XL pipeline and halt drilling operations on federal lands, as we've discussed previously. But Biden recently said, well, the reason why gas prices are not because he shut down and reducing gas and oil drilling on federal lands. Biden went on to blame other, quote, oil-producing countries, end quote, for basically his incompetence and corruption. Speaking of corruption, Hunter's laptop. For many months before the election, I was speaking about Hunter's laptop. The $1.5 billion that was in that laptop, about how it was laundered into the Biden family, of which the big guy, Joe, got 10%, end quote. Okay, right outside that window. And for people all over the country, that was conspiracy theory and that was wrong. That was made up. No, it's actually fact. And in fact, people have come to that conclusion that were demonizing me for saying this many, many months before, to the point where they're like, well, if I would have really known about this from a reputable mainstream source, I probably wouldn't have voted for Biden. Oh, stop. I mean, it's like Biden blaming other countries. These zealots out that window. Anyone who voted for him was an ignoramus. Fact. The guy was corrupt. He's been corrupt for decades. Exclusive laptop from hell documents show Hunter Biden using family leverage and prospective deal to sell Louisiana natural gas to Chinese firm. Funny how that works, huh? $1.5 billion laundered from the Chinese, as noted in that laptop. I mean, you wonder why what happened in Afghanistan happened there, why $85 billion worth of arms were, why at this virtual summit between Biden and Xi, he never brought up the problems. No. It was all a down payment, that $1.5 billion. And same with this. From Emma Jo Morris at Breitbart, the Biden family was set to benefit from a deal to transfer American natural gas to Chinese energy company CEFC through a prospective 2017 deal by Hunter and Jim Biden, Joe Biden's brother, according to newly uncovered documents, as the Biden administration now massively scales back United States energy production. Imagine that. Documents never previously reported on from the infamous laptop from hell belonging to Hunter show the Biden scion was working on a deal in 2017 to transfer liquid natural gas from Louisiana to this Chinese firm, with which Hunter also discussed a business venture that would have, quote, 10% held by H. Hunter for the big guy, end quote. Joe. Yeah. In addition, the New York Times, they're only 1 year late to the party, right? This gives them a little cover, right? Why they covered it up to begin with. New York Times breaks this news 1 year after the election. This from Jim Huff. Hunter Biden helped facilitate sale of world's richest cobalt mines from U.S. company to Chinese communists. In 2015, that would be when Obama was president, Biden was vice president. This was going on when Joe was, okay. Hunter's Bohai Harvest joined forces with the Chinese military contractor Aviation Industry Corporation of China, AVIC, to buy American parts manufacturer Henninger's Automotive. AVIC has been identified as a front for the China's military. The Daily Mail reported an investment firm founded by Hunter Biden assisted a Chinese company in purchasing one of the world's richest cobalt mines from an American company for $3.8 billion, helping the conglomerate gain a massive share of the key metal used to make electric car batteries. The news comes after Biden now has warned that China could use its dominance of mined cobalt to disrupt America's development of electric vehicles. It's part of that $1.5 billion, right? It's all about the Thugocracy and them working against you and me and every American in our country, in our freedoms, in our futures, in our lives. And, some of Joe Biden's best buddies, it was Wall Street that backed Biden. And we all know with Chinese influence on those big banks, right? I mean, it's been, if you listen to our platform for years, Ed Steer, Craig Hemke, Bill Holter, just to name a few, have spoken about how China has this incestuous relationship with the big banks on Wall Street. And that these big banks, in particular, JP Morgan Chase, could well have been a front for what China was trying to do in accumulating gold and silver, in the process criminally manipulate prices lower on the paper market so they could buy physical at lower prices worldwide. Well, then we had this. Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase. And if you listen to my interviews with Helen Chapman, who went after Bernie Madoff and actually found a link between Bernie Madoff and JP Morgan Chase and their operations and their money laundering activity, of which all the court system said, oh, no, we can't look at that. We can't look at that. Jamie Dimon, who's never apologized for anything in his life, and that bank, JP Morgan Chase, has been found guilty of criminal manipulation of markets and have paid tens of millions of dollars in fines for their criminal manipulation of markets. He's never apologized for anything. CEO of world's most important bank, JP Morgan Chase, and that CEO being Jamie Dimon, bends the knee to Beijing. JP Morgan Chief Executive Officer Jamie Dimon quipped that his bank is likely to outlast China's Communist Party. Uh-oh, went off the reservation, went off the Thugocracy ranch. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Quote, we hope to be there for a long time, Dimon said of China. He relayed a joke he made during a recent visit to Hong Kong. Quote, the Communist Party is celebrating its 100th year, so is JP Morgan Chase. And I'll make you a bet we last longer, end quote. When asked for a comment at a regular press briefing on Wednesday, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian said, quote, is it really necessary to cite such remarks that are merely to attract people's attention, end quote. Uh-oh, somebody's not happy. Apparently that did not go down well in Beijing, as this morning, in the past couple of days, Dimon has issued a quick statement apologizing for his comments. Quote, now remember, this is a guy who's never apologized for the criminal activity that he has been involved with this bank. Okay? Quote, I regret and should have not made that comment, end quote, Dimon said in a statement from the bank. Quote, I was trying to emphasize the strength and longevity of our company, end quote. This from Ed Steer, just a couple days before that happened. J.P. Morgan Chase to pay $60 million to settle precious metals spoofing lawsuit. Now, many people believe J.P. Morgan hasn't been involved in this criminal activity that they just paid $60 million for on behalf of the Chinese, that they're fronts for the Chinese. That's a theory out there. Well, could well be. Can you imagine when he made this statement about outlasting the Chinese Communist Party? I imagine it got a hotline phone call. Hey, Jamie? Yeah, Xi here. Are you aware that you've been running, we've talked about this. You've been running this front for us about the precious metals manipulation and these other, maybe I should release that fact. Or you're going to apologize for what you said. I'll apologize. I mean, you can just hear that conversation occurring, right? J.P. Morgan to pay $60 million to settle precious metals spoofing lawsuit. J.P. Morgan Chase and Company agreed to pay $60 million to settle class action litigation by investors who accused the largest U.S. bank of intentionally manipulating prices of precious metals futures and options. The payout, $60 million, would recover about 7% of the estimated $915 million of class-wide damages. Right. So they pay a fraction. They get away with all this, and they are just, right? That's how this works. And as Helen Chapman stated, who helped take down Bernie Madoff, exposed Bernie Madoff, and exposed the link between Madoff and J.P. Morgan Chase while Jamie Dimon was CEO, what Helen has always said, if you're going to hit them with these penny ante fines, yeah, $60 million is a lot of money, but look, they made $915 million on this deal, and you're taking only $60 and you expect you're teaching them a lesson? But J.P. Morgan Chase, how many campaigns do they fund with that? How many people on the right, with an R after the name and a D after the name? A ton of them. The problem is nobody goes to jail. And as Helen Chapman stated, the single most effective way to end this criminal activity on Wall Street, which is funneling the deep state more money so they can put puppets in there like Biden and Harris, is sending the CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase or one of these huge banks to jail for their criminal activity. Not just paying a fine, but holding them criminally responsible for what occurred at their institution and putting them in jail. That's the single most effective way to end this. So, over the holiday season, I suggest you talk to your friends, your family, your neighbors, your coworkers, and tell them what's really happening about how the Thugocracy is doing everything in their power and their puppets, Biden and Harris, and manipulating them to strip you of your remaining freedoms, liberties, health, wealth, finances, future, and stripping us of our country. The more people know, the sooner people know, the sooner we end this reign of terror and error by the deep state. I hope you'll join me for the radio show every Sunday, 2 to 5 Eastern. It's live and it's free. Just go to davejanda.com, hit the listen live button. In addition, I hope you become part of our Freedom family and of subscribing to our platform where extra shows, extra guests, extra analysis, more in-depth analysis, and archives to all of our shows. We hope you become part of our Freedom family. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.